Hey guys, welcome back to the channel McNallie Money, your home of all things stock, investment, and personal finance related. In today's video, we're going to be profiling ZEUS North America Mining Corp. This is a silver copper focused company. A lot to go through. Before we get into it, take a second, hit the like button, you guys. Big help to myself and the channel. If you're not already subscribed, McNallie Money, feel free to join and let me know in the comment section below if you've heard of ZEUS before and if you're currently holding shares. Now, with that being said, let's get into today's video. Okay guys, so that's right. Today's video, we're going to be profiling ZEUS North America Mining Corp. Before we get into it, we did want to thank today's sponsor, Outside the Box Capital, for sponsoring this video on behalf of ZEUS. Now, before we get into it, I did want to take a quick look at the chart. This is as of close on Friday, June 6th. You can see down about 3.5% on the day to close out at 15 cents Canadian. Ticker on this one here in Canada on the CSE is ZEUS, ZEUS, and trades on the OTCQB under the ticker ZUUZF. Now, because this is the first time covering ZEUS on the channel, I did want to jump over to the corporate website, ZEUSminingcorp.com. I'll leave this linked in the video description below so you can go in and take a closer look for yourself. Up top, you can see the two tickers we just mentioned on the CSE under ZEUS and the OTC in the United States, ZUUZF. And front and center here, you can see focused on exploration in Idaho's newest copper district. So as I mentioned, this is a dual focus company on copper and silver with a focus on the state of Idaho, which we're going to explore in today's presentation. Now, if we go over to the About Us section, you can see ZEUS North America Mining Corp is positioned to capitalize on two of the most dynamic and promising metals driving today's economy, again being copper and silver. ZEUS is positioned to unlock the untapped potential hidden beneath the proven but underdeveloped silver-rich terrain of Idaho by tapping into a newly identified copper porphyry system. Leveraging cutting-edge exploration technologies, our focus at ZEUS North America Mining Corp extends beyond traditional silver extraction to the discovery and extraction of significant copper porphyry system and extraction of a significant copper porphyry system, elevating our operations to new heights. The macro demand for silver and copper is driving the future, and ZEUS is well positioned. So this is a theme we've talked about extensively on the channel. Obviously, a lot of the renewables, future technologies, EV, require a large amount of silver and copper, and ZEUS feels this has positioned themselves really in an ideal spot heading into 2025. Now, we're going to look at the properties in more detail, but if we take a high-level view here, you can see district-scale staking rush. The flagship Cuddy Mountain property is adjacent to Hercules Silver, so they trade on the Venture here in Canada, TSXV, under the ticker BIG or BIG, and their newly discovered Leviathan copper porphyry. And you can see here currently ascribed $188 million Canadian market cap. Now, the discovery itself resulted in Barrick injecting $23 million worth of equity. There's been thousands of new claims that have been staked, demonstrating the potential district scale understanding of this discovery. And the Cuddy Mountain property consists of 101 lode mining claims, respectively, and cover a cumulative area of approximately 2,020 acres. And again, we'll take a closer look at this in the investor presentation, located about 2.5 or 2.5 hours northwest of Boise, Idaho, and again, fully road accessible. So here you can see the ZEUS Cuddy Mountain site in close proximity to Barrick, IDEX, Hercules, which we just mentioned, and Nev Gold. Now, in terms of the geology found at Cuddy Mountain, it's directly adjacent to Hercules Silver's newly discovered copper porphyry, which we just mentioned. And below you can see the exploration track record in 2024 with property-wide soil samples, ground magnetics, mapping, rock grab samples, staking, and a property-wide 3D IP and resistivity survey. Now, the soils that they took delineated a broad 3 kilometer by 3 kilometer square copper and molybdenum in the soil circular anomaly underlain by the Seven Devils volcanics, again representing approximately a 741 acre area, along with some of the rock grab sample results, including the fact that out of the 339 rock grab samples, 35 contained greater than 0.1% copper, 16 samples greater than 1.1% copper, and up to 3.8% copper. Now, in addition to that, 28 samples contained 10 grams per ton of silver or more. 9 samples contained 129 grams per ton silver or more, and individual values ranged all the way up to 307 grams per ton worth of silver. So again, very exciting given the fact that copper, silver, and molybdenum are in high demand. And they then go on to talk about some of the additional Cuddy Mountain historic work that's taken place to date. So with that being said, if we now jump over to the corporate investor deck, this is where things start to get really interesting for ZEUS, as they're focused on exploration in Idaho's newest copper district and have recently acquired 3 properties in the state of Idaho, with the Cuddy Mountain property we just mentioned being the flagship property. Now, in addition to that, they also have Selway and Great Western, which between their respective lode mining claims, 101 of which are at Cuddy Mountain, 57 at Selway, and 38 at Great Western, cover an approximate area of 4,200 acres. Now again, they talk about this dual-pronged focus on both copper and silver, and the fact that the ZEUS projects are leveraging cutting-edge exploration technologies to really capitalize on this newly discovered copper periphery district. And again, you can see the location of the ZEUS project in this copper district within the state of Idaho. Now, I mentioned a little bit earlier, this is a relatively underexplored area. Many of you may be asking why Idaho. In terms of the historic activity in this state, they have a rich history of mining and strong geology for gold, silver, and copper, with over $6 billion produced in Idaho since 1885. A future focused or built around this high-grade silver and a periphery copper system. The location of the Cuddy Mountain property, again located directly beside Hercules Metal and that Hercules project in the state of Idaho. The geology we talked about at the location, the fact that Idaho is a very favorable jurisdiction or de-risk state to operate in, and a leadership team with a combined 3 decades worth of global exploration, experience, and discoveries. Now, if we fast forward to current day, Idaho is a booming mining hub. You can see around $1 billion worth of metals produced annually, rated the 8th top mining friendly state, that recent major copper discovery, and the SPEED Act, which was put in place this year to help expedite discovery, exploration, and eventually mining operations. So on the right, you can see some of the projects in the state of Idaho that are already operational, the various different companies running these projects, along with the status of each property and the location in proximity to ZEUS North American Mining Corp. Now from there, they then go on to lay out the bullish thesis behind copper and silver. Goldman Sachs stating copper is the new oil. We've actually mentioned that quote on prior podcasts as well, which they believe is on a necessary path to $15,000 per ton based on demand. And as you can see, between now and 2030, the potential increase in copper demand for this green energy transition is estimated to be in the neighborhood of 600 to 900%. So that equates to 8.2 million tons worth of copper in terms of this estimated supply gap by 2030. Now, in the case of silver, we've already seen extremely strong demand growth. Since 2020, silver demand is up 42%. That's expected to continue to grow 38% by 2033. And as you can see, even back in 2022, we were setting records for silver demand, consuming 1.24 billion ounces in that single year alone. And that's exactly why ZEUS North America Mining Corp is so excited about this Cuddy Mountain project. Now, we talked about the fact that they've discovered this tier 1 copper periphery and the fact that they're directly adjacent to Hercules and some of the favorable property geology, including the fact that there is a presence of the Seven Devils volcanics, known as andesites, and the associated copper molybdenum soil anomaly. Now, the Cuddy Mountain property itself was actually staked before Hercules Metals periphery discovery, and the shallow level periphery style alteration has already been mapped using copper and soil anomalies in and around this historically defined silver mineralization. And again, a close-up or zoomed-in map of the ZEUS Cuddy Mountain property and this copper periphery target area. Now, earlier in the presentation, we talked about some of the exploration operations that took place last year, including those 799 property-wide ground magnetics, property-wide mapping, and rock grab samples, 339. We talked about some of those results, the staking that took place, and that property-wide 3D IP and restivity survey. Now, from that mapping activity, they were able to make some key observations, including the presence of upper volcanic sequence, including the presence of the upper volcanic sequence, including silver, lead, zinc, and copper mineralization, the presence of volcanoclastic units at or near the unconformity, the presence of those andesites known as Seven Devils volcanics, and the presence of iron alteration. And here's a few of the samples themselves shown on screen. Now, in terms of the property-wide soil samples, again, 799 were collected in 2024, approximately 75 meter spacing, and that's where they noticed that 3 by 3 square kilometer copper and molybdenum in the soil circular anomaly with the presence of Seven Devils volcanics. And worth noting, this newly identified copper molybdenum soil anomaly contains individual soil samples up to 0.38% copper and 28.5 parts per million, or ppm, molybdenum. So overall, Cuddy Mountain continues to show strong similarities to the Hercules discovery and a comparable soil geochemical footprint. And that's obviously where there's potential for value creation. If you take a look at BIG or Hercules Metals, again, ticker symbol BIG on the TSX Venture, you can see tremendous activity or price action over the last few years in their stock, really dating back to September of 2023, when they started getting results from the property. In November of 2023, that Barrick Gold investment worth just north of $23 million, and the commencement of phase 3 drilling, or their drill program, in May of last year. So this is a great example of a similar company operating in close proximity adjacent to ZEUS North America Mining Corp, and a great example of a comparable in the space. So for those reasons, you guys, I'd be super curious to hear your thoughts on ZEUS Mining Corp, specifically if you're already holding shares. We've got some contact info up on the screen here if you've got any additional questions, or feel free to leave them in the comment section below. If you're still watching the video at this point, hopefully you found some value, so make sure you hit the like button and feel free to subscribe. That's all for now. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.